I still remember one of the professor in our university in her first class. She openly said that she doesn't want any one of us to call her by madam. Hello everyone, welcome to Sydney Reflect. I'm Neeraj from Sydney and you are listening to one and only podcast from Sydney where you can learn and listen to the experience of international student living in Sydney. So, on this episode, I'm reflecting on some of the differences that I found here in Sydney compared to the life back in Kathmandu, and that surprised me as well. I was raised in the Kathmandu city in the middle class family, and accordingly, I have adopted the culture of my own parents. I have my own friend circles and my own personal attributes. But when I came to Sydney and I see so many differences, and when I say differences, it doesn't have to be a big things like our technology, but even small things. And at one time, I feel like we are living in the same world, but with completely different. So I'm very excited to share with you guys about this because it might surprise you as well. So the number one, we don't use sir or madam here. Usually back in Nepal, we usually respect with a word like sir or madam to the people who are in the higher authority. Especially in our schools and university, we mostly use sir or madam or miss while having conversation with our teachers. We don't use their name because it seems disrespect to our teachers, and I used to believe that. But it's completely opposite to that here in Sydney. In fact, we don't use sir or madam here. It sounds so unprofessional. I still remember one of the professor in our university in her first class. She openly said that she doesn't want any one of us to call her by madam because she doesn't like it. Instead, she's happy to call her by her name. And my personal experience is that it was so uncomfortable for me to call her by name at the beginning. But later on, I became used to it. Even where I work right now, I call my manager by his name rather than the sir. Because it's how we communicate here. So if you are coming to Sydney, then beware of this. And the second things that surprised me is like getting together doesn't mean you have to pay the bills of your friends. This is one that I was really surprised when I knew about it. Usually, when we used to have get together, either the person who is calling for get together have to pay the bills or we divide total to each one of us. I still remember when there was a birthday party of one of my friends, we went for get together to celebrate in one of the restaurant and she paid all the bills because it was her birthday. But here in Sydney, what I have realized is that getting together doesn't mean sharing the bills or foods. It's actually getting together. Well, they do share their foods and bills here as well, but one thing that fascinated me was about in the restaurant where I work, I saw people coming to meet their friends, celebrate their friend's birthday, but the surprising thing is that they paid their own bills. One of them order a heavy meals, but the other one is okay to order a light meal and enjoy the conversations. And I really like this. I still remember when I was having a get together with my friends back in Kathmandu, I used to feel the pressures of like I have to order a big meal even if I don't want to, since I was really struggling with money, and I also don't want to be embarrassed in front of them because of not having money. So I tried to escape such get together. Now I realize what the problem was with me. It wasn't about not having a money, it wasn't about get together. but it was that mindset about what my friends will think about me if I order just a small meal. So this is something so important in our life, because in our everyday life we keep on comparing ourselves with others, which will make us feel stress and low self-esteem. The thing is, we need to get out of this kind of mindset, like what will others think about it, and that's what I'm trying to get rid of in my life. And the third thing is, what I found is like Kathmandu is chaos, but Sydney is organized. This is in the sense like, if there's going, let me give you an example. Like in Sydney where I live, if there's some construction work in the place where I live in the coming next week, then the community center will inform us about it so that we can prepare our schedule accordingly. If there is track work of train, then NSW train will inform us early about the track work schedule and instead provide us free bus service. Similarly, every Tuesday our garbage bins are taken away. Every day the train stations are being cleaned. Every day public toilets are being cleaned. Every government service are available online and we can get it done online sitting at the home. So I find it organized compared to Kathmandu, which is still chaos and unorganized. But I don't mean to say that Kathmandu is bad compared to Sydney. Well, it's just unorganized. I saw a video about Kathmandu last week where traffic police stopped a public bus. Maybe the driver did something wrong and all the passengers were left by themselves. I mean, at least the traffic police have that responsibility to help those passengers to find another bus to get to their way. But it was like it wasn't his responsibility. In Sydney, if there's some fault on the train, then we have a bus replacement for that, arranged by NSW train, and it's free. If customers are not happy with our service, then they will get a full refund. That's how it works here, and that's why the Sydney is pretty much organized and it's very easy to live life here. And the fourth things that I found something different is like in Sydney, human safety is always first. In Sydney, human safety is one of the number one priority. Either it's on work or a study or even while you are traveling. If someone is working on a construction sector, then safety wear are compulsory. Otherwise, you are not allowed to work. In fact, even for a general visit, safety wear is a must. If someone is driving, then seatbelt is a must. If you are in hospitality industry, then its number one priority is to make sure food are fresh and hygienic. Let me give you a simple example. Like if I'm working in a cleaning industry and if my job is to make sure the floors are clean, whenever I mop the floor with water, my first responsibility will be to put the signboard of wet floor so that the people walking on the floor will notice that the floor is wet and they will walk carefully. Otherwise, if there is no signboard on the floor and someone got injured while walking, then I have to be liable for the injury. It looks simple, but it's so important. That means we have to be careful even about small things, and that can impact others. And that is what life is all about. Learning from the small things of our daily life and making us better than before. Thank you so much guys for listening to the end. If you haven't subscribed yet to my podcast, then please go and do it now so that you don't miss anything. Next week I'll be back with one of my guests. Till then, have a healthy and happy life. Keep learning and keep sharing.